Welcome in everybody to week 5 start sit advice. Get right into it, but first we'll talk a little bit about Devontae Adams again. Devontae Adams, teams I'm hearing kind of in the beginning of this trade process because it's probably going to happen. I'm pretty sure we've seen Devontae Adams play his final game for the Raiders. Does not seem like him and Pierce are on the same page. But Steelers are a name I've heard, and the Bills are teams that have contacted. I've heard the Jets just because of Aaron Rodgers, but no rumblings from anybody saying that they've contacted the Raiders about him. Everybody's excited that maybe the Chiefs, but that's not going to happen. It's a division rival. The Raiders, whether they're losing every game or not, they're not going to trade Devontae Adams within the division. So as of right now, the only two names of relevance that I've heard are the Steelers and the Bills. We saw the Steelers go pretty hard after Brandon Ayuk this season, but there was a lot more in play for Brandon Ayuk. I don't think the Raiders really care what Devontae Adams wants. So if the Steelers give him enough, then he'll be with the Steelers. So we'll see as the next few days unfolds. If it happens this week, where he ends up. Let's get into the start sits for this week. I'm going to start right off the bat with quarterback. My start of the week for quarterback is Brock Purdy. Currently second in the league in passing. Last time they played the Cardinals, he had 4 touchdowns against them. The Cardinals have already allowed 2 top 5 fantasy outings to QBs this year. Kittle and Debo will now be coming into their second week back from dealing with those injuries. Ayuk, this could be a good get back on track game for Ayuk this week. So Brock Purdy is all set. We're only really missing Christian McCaffrey, but Jordan Mason's filled in pretty well in that role. He's obviously not healthy McCaffrey, but he's still done pretty well. So look for Brock Purdy to have a solid week this week. And continue doing what he's doing. I'm at second in the league in passing yards. He's kind of flown under the radar this year. So it's been a solid year for him, and I look for him to continue that against the Cardinals this week. My sit at quarterback this week, it's going to be a little bit surprising to a lot of people, but Patrick Mahomes. I know people drafted him high, but he has been average this year. For fantasy. QB 15 on the season. Just lost his top receiver. They're not going to go out and get anybody of super relevance this year. This year. I don't think anyways. But I do think we'll see a step up from Travis Kelce. But the Saints have only allowed 1 passing touchdown this season. League's best 68 passer rating, which is huge, and have had 6 interceptions. Not saying that Mahomes won't have a decent game against them, but the way he's played so far this year and losing Rice for the season, we're pretty sure for the season. Obviously, they're running more tests, but I think it's pretty safe to say right now that he probably tore something and he's probably gone for the year. But anyways, Patrick Mahomes, I don't trust him this week. He hasn't played well so far this season fantasy-wise, and I think that continues this week against the Saints. Moving on to running back for start of the week for running back, Najee Harris. The Cowboys have been getting diced up by the run game this year. They've allowed top 10 runners. So it's basically a RB1 the first 3 out of 4 weeks of the season. And that's probably going to continue. I could see Najee being a top 10 back this week. They've given up the second most rushing TDs, and he's had plenty of volume. He's had over 16 carries over pretty much every not pretty much. He's had over 16 carries every game this season, and he over the past 2 weeks he's had 11 targets. If Jalen Moore misses this game again, Najee Harris should be an easy slot into your lineup for probably a top 10 week, maybe even better. My sit of the week for running back, Zach Moss for the Cincinnati Bengals. We saw Chase Brown kind of eat into his workload a little bit last week, and we also saw him really eat into the goal line carries last week. So they are playing the Ravens this week. Not a plus matchup at all. Ravens have a solid defense. They played well the past 2 weeks against the Cowboys and against the Bills. So it's going to be a tough division matchup this week. So bench Moss if you have another option. Moving on to my wide receiver start of the week. Just talked about him with the waiver wire, and I'm going to continue to talk about him. I was huge on him to start the year, but Dontavian Wicks for the Green Bay Packers. He had 13 targets last week and 210 air yards. Just elite numbers last week. Jordan Love is going to be in his second week back from that injury. Christian Watson is out with a high ankle sprain. Jaden Reed, yes, Jaden Reed is the number one option on this team, in my opinion. But Dontavian Wicks is going to look to solidify his role in this wide receiver core. I think he's got big play potential, and Jordan Love seems to really like this guy. Yes, he's had some problems with drops, but full week of practice with Christian Watson out, Jordan Love, I think he gets back on track and starts catching a lot more of these passes. So if you have Dontavian Wicks, get him in your starting lineup this week. You could be in store for a pretty big week. Sit of the week at wide receiver. I'm going to stick with that Cincinnati and Baltimore game. T. Higgins. Baltimore has been really solid the past 2 weeks. Like I said, against the Cowboys, which are a pretty good offense, and against the Bills, who have been really solid this year. They just have not given up big games to those outside receivers. T. Higgins has been giving you a couple of games that are okay, nothing too great, and that's not going to improve this week. Jamar Chase will be the focal point of this offense, obviously, and I think it's going to be a struggle to keep two wide receivers against this Ravens defense. So bench T. Higgins if you have another option this week. My start of the week at tight end, Pat Freiermuth for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, Dallas defense has not been anything that we've expected them to be this year. Everybody was looking for that elite level defense, and then this past week, Travion Diggs and Michael Parsons both injured. Not something you want to see if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan or that team in general, with the struggles they were already having on defense. And now you add those two dealing with injuries. It's a tough blow for the Dallas Cowboys. Pat Freiermuth has had at least 4 targets in each of the first 4 games. 17 points last week. He got into the end zone finally. So tight end is thin this year. It's tough to pick who to start and who to sit, but he's been a solid floor option at the position. He's in that tight end 1 conversation for this season, not overall tight end 1, but just in that tight end 1 range this season. My sit of the week, this is really my sit of the future for right now until we see something change. But the Baltimore Ravens tight ends, everything looks so promising after week 1 with Isaiah Likely having that huge game right out of the gates. So we figured Mark Andrews was coming off the injury that he was dealing with in camp, the car accident. that maybe he had a little rust and he was still knocking it off. That's why we saw a lot of Likely. We figured Andrews would come out and improve quite a bit as the season went on. Andrews has had 2 targets the past 2 weeks, and Likely has had 6. So just not good numbers. Doesn't seem to be improving. It seems like the Ravens brought Derrick Henry in for a reason, and you're going to have a lot of runs with Henry and Jackson this year. Hopefully, if you want to try to buy low, you could probably buy them dirt cheap right now and just have them sitting on your bench and hope that something changes in the next few weeks to where they get back to where they focus on the tight end. But until then, those 2 need to be on your bench and find a different option, because it's hard to keep them in your lineup and watch them get 1 target, 0 receptions for no yards, and just give you the goose egg. There are plenty of options on waiver wires that can get you 3 or 4 points at least. Could be enough to push you over the edge to get a win. Don't keep taking the zeros. Let's put them on the bench until we see something better. If you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button in the bottom quarter. Give us a comment. Let us know what you think of a comment. Let us know what you think of the content, and we will catch you guys tomorrow.